The American Revolution, a nation's birth. In the mid-18th century, the British Empire was at the height of its power, with territories spanning across North America, the Caribbean, and other parts of the world. Among its colonies were 13 scattered along the Atlantic coast of North America, which would eventually become the United States of America. These colonies, from north to south, were Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. The seeds of discontent. For decades, the British government had largely allowed the colonies to govern themselves, with minimal interference. However, following the costly 7 Years' War, 1756–1763, the British government found itself deeply in debt. To alleviate this financial burden, the British Parliament began imposing a series of taxes on the colonies without their consent. This move was met with growing resentment among the colonists, who argued that they had no representation in Parliament and therefore should not be taxed. The concept of taxation without representation became a rallying cry for the colonists. They believed that if they were to be subject to British laws and taxes, they should have a say in the matter through elected representatives in Parliament. This fundamental principle of democracy, representation in government, was denied to the colonists, leading to increasing tensions between the colonies and Great Britain. Protests and resistance. One of the earliest and most notable protests against British taxation was the Boston Tea Party in 1773. A group of colonists, disguised as Native Americans, boarded British ships in Boston Harbor and threw hundreds of chests of tea into the water. This act of defiance was a direct response to the Tea Act, which allowed the British East India Company to sell tea in the colonies without paying certain taxes, effectively undercutting local merchants. The Boston Tea Party was more than just a protest against taxes. It was a bold statement against British authority and a call for colonial rights. The British government responded to the Boston Tea Party with a series of laws known as the Coercive Acts, designed to punish Massachusetts and reassert British control. These acts further restricted the rights of the colonists, leading to widespread outrage and solidarity among the other colonies. The First Continental Congress was convened in 1774, bringing together representatives from the 13 colonies to coordinate a unified response to British rule. This marked the beginning of a collective effort to challenge British authority and eventually led to the outbreak of war. The American Revolution. The American Revolution was not just a war but a complex movement driven by the ideals of liberty, democracy, and self-governance. The first shots of the revolution were fired on April 19, 1775, at Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. The Continental Army, led by George Washington, was formed shortly after, and the colonies declared their independence from Britain on July 4, 1776, with the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence, drafted primarily by Thomas Jefferson, was a profound document that articulated the colonies' grievances against the British Crown and proclaimed the inherent rights of individuals to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It also established the principle that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, a radical idea at the time. The War for Independence. The War for Independence was long and brutal, with both sides suffering significant losses. The Continental Army faced numerous challenges, including lack of resources, inadequate training, and harsh weather conditions. However, they were driven by a strong sense of purpose and determination to secure freedom for their nation. Key battles. such as Saratoga in 1777 and Yorktown in 1781, turned the tide of the war in favor of the Americans. The French alliance with the colonies in 1778 provided crucial military and financial support, which played a significant role in the eventual defeat of the British forces. The birth of a nation. The American Revolution culminated in the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1783, formally ending the war and recognizing the United States as an independent nation. The revolution not only shaped the future of America but also had a profound impact on the world. It inspired other nations to fight for their independence and laid the groundwork for modern democracy. The principles of liberty, equality, and self-governance that defined the American Revolution continue to resonate today. The United States Constitution, adopted in 1787, and the Bill of Rights, ratified in 1791, further codified these ideals into law, creating a framework for governance that has endured for centuries. Legacy of the American Revolution. The American Revolution's legacy extends far beyond the borders of the United States. It demonstrated the power of collective action and the importance of standing up against tyranny. The revolution's emphasis on individual rights, democratic governance, and the rule of law has influenced countless movements for